Hey guys, welcome to Tip Tuesday. Excited to be here today. We are going to talk about lettering. So I have like some little sample letterings here that we are going to dive into. And got my colors set up. I just wanted you guys to see I've got my tripod here. Ignore everything over there. That's my daughter's cookies from yesterday. But these are some of the lettering that we're going to talk about today. So I've got five different ones that we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to show you, I've got my Pico here. It's up on my Archon mount that I tagged yesterday. And I've got it set up with my iPad that then projects down on to my cookie. So we're going to talk about some different things that you can do for lettering. So first, sorry about that. First and foremost, sorry about my dog. First and foremost, we're going to talk about just simple lettering of just regular letters. So I picked out one here that I think is a good example. We're going to do it with our green. And we're going to do, so most of the time I look on dafont.com. If you look on dafont.com, it's a website. You can get most of your fonts there. I just type it in, put it in with my Pico, and I am good to go. And then I just use my iPad to work with it. So, all right. So here I've got a number 2 tip on. You can't even see that number 2 tip because you can see it there. A number 2 tip for these. You could do a number 2 or a number 1.5 is also one that would work well for this font. So let me get my paper towel here to help me work with it. So I'm just doing this font here, and this is just going to be like your standard letters. If you start going along and you're like, okay, that's way too thick, you can always change out your tip size. I like to use tips when I'm doing fonts. It's obviously up to you how comfortable you are with tipless bags. I find it very hard to do any kind of lettering with a tipless bag, but that's just me. So I'm just barely squeezing anything at all when I'm doing my letters here. I like to just go slow and be really, really careful. Sometimes it's easier to do letters backwards because you can see if you're right-handed. This works well if you're right-handed. You can see what's ahead of you. I almost always use a projector as well when I am doing my letters. It just helps me. I'm not very good at handwriting, and so this just helps me to get my spacing right, especially the spacing, and then get my letters the way I want them to be. So this is just your standard letters. See, I find it easier to go backwards.
Wow, that's good.
Oh, thanks, Sydney. Sydney said it was good. So we'll go with that. This icing still might be a little bit, or this tip might be a little bit thicker than what I would normally use. So more than likely I would just switch to a smaller tip. But we're going to use a smaller tip at our next one. So that's just your regular standard doing letters, just block letters. Just looking to see here.
This one's for dinner.
Okay. You guys save one of those for dinner. Oh, well. Doing it the wrong way. Flip it back around. Okay, so let's do another one. and we're going to do one that we pressure pipe. So for our pressure piping, we're going to use our blue. I'm going to have a 2.5 tip on this one, which is a little bit thicker. And actually, I think I'm going to put a 2 on. I don't really like to pipe anything or do any letters with anything bigger than a number 2 tip. And I am using the PME tips, so I highly recommend them. It's the only one that I use. So we're going to do the hair. Oh, I don't know. That one is not making it bigger. I might have to do the ocean air. We're going to do air and hair pressure pipe because that's too small. I can't make it any bigger. Okay, so let's do air and hair, and this is going to be pressure piping. So this is another technique, okay, just like your regular standard. This is a little different technique that's going to show you how to get like puffy letters. There's 2 different ways to get puffy letters. You can do a pressure piping, or you can do like a fill in where you outline it and you fill it in. So we're going to do that next, but this one is the pressure piping. So all it is how much you were squeezing on your bag. So I'm not going to do ocean there because we just did those type of letters. But let's do, I'm going to start up here. One thing to note with hand lettering is you're always doing the downward motion is where your pressure comes from. Okay, so if you're like, I don't know how to write this, I'm just going to freehand it, and you don't have a projector, just know that all your downward strokes are where you have your thicker letters. So when I'm piping, pressure piping, I'm squeezing more. I stop squeezing when I go up. Okay, go pressure pipe, pressure, 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 ease up, because I want that thin line there. I'm barely squeezing at all. And then I'm going to pressure, 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 and then do my loop up. So see there, you can see how that works. If you have a an even thinner, like a 1.5 is probably ideal. We're going to use that next. If you have a 1.5, that one is the best one to do any hand lettering with. It just gives you more control. It's a thinner line, so like these like lines here are going to be thinner, which are going to be more helpful. They're going to look more in line with what you want. So I'm just pressure, pressure, pressure. So all I'm doing is I'm just changing the pressure of how much I am squeezing the bag. Does that make sense, guys? So when I go up, I'm not squeezing very much. When I go down, that's when I'm applying more pressure onto the bag. There you go. All right, so those are your 2 little pressure pipes. Okay, so now let's do, we're going to do a, oh goodness, now I can't think. We're going to do where you fill it in. So I thought this mom one, this is my Nada cookie, in case you're wondering. And let me push this up a little bit so you guys are not in the comments. And we're going to do mom. And I'm going to do where I'm not going to fill in. Wish I could get bigger. I'm not going to fill in the middle. And I'm going to show you what we're going to do with that. Okay. So I'm going to put a purple color for this. I'm going to put a 1.5 tip. Whoop. A 1.5 tip, which is thinner, obviously, than a 2. And this one, we're going to outline. We're not going to pressure in it all. So this is a 1.5. Where is it at? Probably can't even see it. It's there somewhere. So this one obviously is a smaller line. But where you have your thick marks, you're just going to create this like little outline. Hey, Sydney, can you stop eating the chips, please? Thank you. Hopefully you guys couldn't hear that. It's starting to get on my nerves. Okay, so I'm just filling this in, or just outlining that space there. Some people like to do the whole thing and then come back and add that second line. It just kind of totally depends on your comfort level. Sometimes I do that. It just depends. I'm going to add a little line in the middle of all of these to help prevent craters. For these craters are where you have air bubbles that come when you're filling in a small space. And the air bubble pops as the icing starts to settle and your icing falls and creates a hole in your icing. It can be very frustrating, as you've probably worked really hard. You've worked hard to get your lettering just right. You go to set it in front of your fan, or go to put a little laundry in because you finished your cookie, and you come back and you have a crater. And there's really no way to fix it except to scrape it off and start over. You can't fill it in. Been there, done that. So now that I've got that outlined, so you can kind of see I have it outlined. You don't even need to have this on there, but the projector.
Can you put some in here?
But in just a minute. I'm just going to take my flood icing and fill in where I outlined. So it's kind of hard to see with the, let me move this.
What's this?
And so now you can see it a little better. I'm just using my scribe just to kind of,
What is this?
I'm finding it. I'm going to get a little bit closer so you can see.
What is this?
It's instructions, babe.
What?
All right. And so kind of almost like pressure pipe the flood icing. I don't want to have to go in there with a scribe if I don't have to, because I don't want to risk messing it up. But I'm probably going to have to for each letter. This would be great like on the mason jar on for Mother's Day. Would be great for, and it would be, you know, just great for anything. So hand lettering is always fun. It does take a lot of practice. I would definitely recommend practicing it this method and then practicing pressure piping, and find just which one works better for you. It depends on what I'm using. How pretty is that? That looks really, really pretty. It depends on if I'm using something that's got to have a really thick line, and really thick, and it's in my outline icing is not going to be very smooth. I'm going to do a method like this where I fill in. If it's one that is a smaller letters, I'm going to use the pressure piping. If I'm doing a lot of them, I'm going to just pressure pipe because it's just going to be faster. So that is number 3. It's your fill-in method. So I thought also we would do a cookie that has a monogram, so you guys can see. No, I thought I could use this one, this cookie, but it is got black on it from last week. So I'm just gonna wipe this one off here and we'll reuse it. So these are the Nada cookies that you can purchase that are just plastic. It's called a Nada cookie. That they're just plastic and you can like reuse them and practice with. They are fantastic for that. Okay, number 4, we're gonna do the monogram. And I picked this monogram here because I thought it was really pretty. So this one, again, you can do this 2 ways.